Hey there, this is day 13 of 40 Days of Advent. And I am, I'm the driver of your truck for this journey, Dr. Tim Stafford. And so glad to be with you today. Now, yesterday we were talking about how, well, the last couple of days we talked about how the serpent, who was crafty, asked a particular question that put Eve on the defensive. And then once Eve answered him, then he says, well, I don't think you have all the information. I think God is trying to keep you from something. He's trying to paint a picture that God is not who he claims to be. And so he says to her, you're not surely going to die, for God knows that the day that you eat of that tree, you will, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good from evil. He doesn't want you to be like him. He wants you to be under him. He doesn't want you to be like him. Now, what's funny is of course, God said, let's make man in our image, so we are a lot like him. We reflect him in a lot of ways, but it was never his intention for us to be him, because we can't be him. We're created by him. But that isn't the logic or the idea that the serpent tried to plant in the mind of Eve. He just said, I just don't think that God, I think God is keeping something from you. And what's interesting is that he said, you're not going to die. And he basically tells him the truth, but in a twisted way. God knows that your eyes are going to be open, and you're going to know good from evil, and you're going to be like him, and he doesn't want that. And so, he's keeping this from you, and he's giving you this rule. And I think you need to rethink it. And I love in verse 6, which is what we're going to talk about today, in Genesis 3:6, it says, when the woman saw that the tree was good food, it was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from it its fruit and ate, and she gave it also to her husband with her, and he ate it. Let's look at that. So let's just kind of consider this for a minute. So God says, don't eat of that tree. He puts it right in the middle of right in the middle of the garden, right? And he says, don't eat of the tree. That's the only thing. Everything else is open to you, but don't eat of that tree right there, and don't even touch it. Just it's the pillar of obedience. If you obey me, you're gonna have the best life possible. You are gonna have an incredible life. The whole world is yours, except for one tree. That's it. And the serpent says, he's not telling you all the information. And so if you're Adam and Eve and you're walking around, you're having just the best life ever, and you see that tree, you're probably considering it. God is continuously forcing you to meditate on the things that he's asked. So don't eat of that tree. Yeah, God told us to eat of the tree. Now what's interesting is Satan didn't ask Eve, well, what did God tell you to do? Well, he told us to eat of any tree, but he also told us that, Adam's been out naming the animals, and we've been walking with him, and we've been talking to God, and we've been out. It's incredible. Yesterday I rode on the back of a water buffalo. They didn't say that. I've been collecting. I have all these butterflies that are. I curated a garden on the west side of the garden, and all the butterflies are there, and I've been counting the butterflies, and nobody asked that. He brought their attention to the one thing that they can't do, and he's saying, but you can do it though. You can. And I think what's interesting is that once that logic entered in, that you could even be better because you could be like God. You could actually not have to serve him. You would just, who says you have to be obedient? Who says that you can't? Who is he to tell you that? You're the ones walking around the earth. You're the ones doing all the work. Wow. You're not going to die. You're just going to be like him, and he doesn't want that. And it says here that then when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that's some pretty good eating, that tree. Come to think of it, you're right. That's a pretty good looking tree, and it's a nice looking tree. And why, of all the beautiful things that I see, why wouldn't that beautiful thing be mine? And that seems to be the most beautiful thing of all, is that I could do that. And what's so wrong with knowing good from evil? I don't want to be ignorant to the things that are out there that could be bad for me. I've actually heard this this argument made about children. One time I went to a movie, and it was a pretty rough movie, you know, and it was pretty rough, and I even considered leaving at one point. I thought, you know, if this doesn't go somewhere and have some sort of, you know, it's kind of one of those things that as I look back on it, I probably should have left. It just kind of went over the edge, and I'm a huge movie lover, so. But you know, sometimes I just get to the point where I go, I just don't know if I can watch this. Well, I noticed that there were some children in this movie, and there's just no way that should have been. I mean, you know, certainly if you had thought that it was okay as a movie for you to bring your children, which I don't think you should have, but if you did, certainly 30 minutes in, you should have said, this is not good for my kids. I got to get them out of here. And you know, get them out. Whether you get your money back or not, it's not really the issue, right? Well, it was interesting because on the way out, the older, I'm assuming it was an older daughter, but it could have been a sister. I don't know. Anyway, the older, one of the older people in the party says to whom I'm assuming is the mother of the smaller children, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that was good for the little ones. And her answer to her was, well, they got, you know, they're going to see this kind of stuff out in the world, and so you may as well be exposed to it. I hear that kind of argument all the time. You don't have to expose people to evil in the world for them to appreciate evil. Evil is going to happen. It's around all of us, right? So I don't need to know good from evil in order to acknowledge the fact that I've got everything I need. You know, it's kind of like saying, well, I don't really know that it's good or not because I don't know what evil is. Well, but maybe the good that you have in the Garden of Eden is so great that you wouldn't ever want to know evil because you're never going to see that quite that way again. And so maybe God knows a lot more than you know, and maybe he knows a lot more about the details. But I think it's interesting that it says here that when she saw that the tree was good for food and that it was a delight for the eyes, and she realized that she was missing out on something, and that she began to realize that, hey, wait a minute, if somebody's keeping something from me, I don't want that. So she took it, and she ate it, and she gave it to her husband, and he ate it. Now, we don't really know many more details than that. I mean, I don't know if Adam asked her where she got the fruit or whatever. It's possible that she just said, hey, look, check out this piece of fruit I got it that we haven't eaten before, and he ate it because he just trusted her. I have no idea. I have literally no idea. I mean, I've wondered that because Adam says later that the woman gave me the fruit. You know, he may not even be aware of I have no idea. But what I do know is that this idea crept into her mind, and then they disobeyed God. And that is the moment, of disobedience is where the start of the redemption process is. You can't, that moment of disobedience immediately prompts the need for God to make a decision. Am I going to redeem these folks? Or am I going to redeem mankind, or am I going to destroy them? It's really right down to it. Do I let them live, or do I destroy them because they disobeyed me? And by destroying them, that means that, I am sending them into utter darkness because they can have nothing to do with me. And so that is the beginning right there on Genesis 3, verse 6. Genesis 3, verse 6 is the moment where Christmas begins. It's the true moment. Everything that I've talked to up to this point is all led up to understanding that you can't have Christmas without without a man, without men who were sinful, right? And you have to have a creation, and you have to have a creator. All of that was there, but this right here is this is the point where we say, up to this point, we didn't need Christmas because we didn't need a Savior. Here is where we needed a Savior. We'll talk more about what happens next tomorrow. Until then, think about these things, and I'll see you tomorrow on 40 Days of Advent.